Hi, I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. My channel is dedicated to helping victims of narcissistic abuse get free and stay free. I received a really interesting email recently from a friend here at our channel asking for some information about loneliness and that impending fear of loneliness if you're planning to leave the narc. And I want to talk about that today. Now, as always, I can only speak from my own personal experience as a target and victim of narcissistic abuse. I will say that during the horrible 5 years I spent with Trevor in his house of pain, never in my lifetime had I experienced such loneliness. I've never in my lifetime felt so alone. In fact, of course, as many of you, I had been isolated from family, friends, things I love to do, from my passions, but I was also isolated within that relationship. I had been cut off from human contact, not only outside of the relationship, but within the relationship as well. The creation of a sense of loneliness within the relationship, of course, stemmed from things like gaslighting and projection, of course, everything being blamed on me. Triangulation played a really key role in feeling very isolated from my own life, from my own relationship. And of course, there were many other manipulative factors going on, causing a real sense of absolute loneliness in me. Being constantly told that you are the problem honestly drove me very deeply into myself. Of course, that sense of fear, that feeling that I was disappointing him really caused me to retreat into myself as a person. Now, I've always been a fairly outgoing person, quite extroverted, but I found myself really withdrawing, becoming very introverted, and almost hiding within myself, afraid to do anything wrong, afraid to disappoint, afraid to say the wrong thing. So being driven inside of yourself, as I had been, really caused almost a state of loneliness, despair, and desperation. As we know, narcissists are absolutely notorious for identity theft. So, as I found myself being forced inside myself with my identity now in question, my identity almost feeling like it was missing, being forced inside yourself when huge pieces of you are gone, really creates for a very lonely, lonely situation. Once I retreated inside myself, I couldn't even find myself there any longer. I had been isolated from friends, family, and things I loved. The man I believed I had fallen in love with was gone, never to return again, and I too had vanished, leaving me in the loneliest place I have ever been in my entire lifetime. When I had absolutely decided I was leaving the relationship, loneliness had not occurred to me because I believed at that point I was suffering from an extreme case of loneliness and truly almost a state of loneliness desperation where I was frantic for human connection. The possibility of leaving, and once I'd really confirmed in my heart I was out of there, I'd never considered the possibility that I would be stepping into loneliness because I did believe at that point I would be walking away from the most significant loneliness I'd ever experienced in my entire lifetime. I was lonely for love, which I wasn't getting. I was desperately missing validation, and I do believe throughout my lifetime my feelings and emotions had been positively validated, and there was none of that. I was lonely for human connection. I was lonely for compassion and empathy and understanding. I was lonely for myself. I had absolutely disappeared in all of this. I was lonely for the person I thought I had fallen in love with. I was lonely for all the people that had been slowly removed, quite manipulatively, quite covertly from my life. So leaving did not in any way indicate to me that I would suffer further loneliness. In fact, my feeling was the extreme opposite of that. I felt like leaving would be the end of the loneliness in my life. When I did finally get free, friends and family rallied to help support me. So that aspect of the loneliness was really, really quickly dissipating. I immediately began to find myself again. And even on times when I am alone, like when none of the kids are here at the house or I don't have friends staying, but those times I am alone, having myself back has been great company. Finding my incredible tribe amongst you guys has been really so inspirational for me to continue on, not just with videos, but in life, understanding that other people have suffered what I suffered, knowing sure as hell that we've all stood in the same shoes has really diminished a feeling of loneliness in me. In my experience, being with Trevor was a much lonelier place than I am today because I have friends and family back. I have hope and inspiration back in my life. And every day I'm finding more puzzle pieces of who I was and who I want to be in the future. And the loneliness has absolutely dissipated. I never feel alone anymore. Where I would be with Trevor almost 24/7 and feel an absolute sense of desperation. I was so lonely, and I would often say to him, you know, Trevor, I see you sitting there, but I feel so alone. When someone cuts you off from love and empathy and from human connection, and you're loving them and just never getting any emotional support back, that is loneliness. Leaving and setting your own course in life, it absolutely eliminated loneliness from my heart. For those of you today who may be feeling like leaving will induce loneliness, that's not how it happened for me. It was the end to the loneliness. Leaving put an end to the loneliness in my life. I don't believe that you're facing loneliness at all if you're planning your exit strategy today or have recently left. I believe you've left the loneliness behind, and I truly believe that what you have now is an opportunity to heal. Identify what's happened to you, have your feelings validated, and find a tremendous support group of other targets, victims, and survivors that absolutely understand what you've been through. And in my opinion, there's nothing but companionship in that, friendship, love, empathy. I'm just not seeing loneliness in any of that. If you're feeling shaken today and afraid of impending loneliness, know sure as hell you are not alone. There are many of us, and we are certainly here to support you through what you may perceive as a lonely time initially after you leave, or if you've recently just left. I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. I hope you guys are having a great narc-free day.